In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do all of the Verdansk 2025 Easter eggs, the complete version before the Season 4 Reloaded update goes live on the 28th/29th of May. So as you know, in the Season 3 Reloaded update, a load of new Easter eggs were added to the map, and I already did a full video on that. However, a couple weeks before Season 4 goes live itself, another update went live, which unlocked all of the bunkers in the map and also added the subway Easter egg. So I thought I would compile all of the Easter eggs into one big video for everything we know how to do thus far. Of course, further down the line, more and more Easter eggs are probably going to keep getting added. I suspect a lot of the other Easter eggs that were on the original Verdansk will slowly get drip fed to us, so I'll keep doing updated videos as and when they are live, and I'll be sure to add a pinned comment as and when they are. Firstly, in this video, I'm going to show you how to unlock all of the bunkers before I then show you how to do all of the Easter eggs that I have already done a video on. Firstly, this is how you unlock all of the bunkers that have specific key codes that you need to input. First of all, for bunker 1, you want to head to this area of the map in the southwest to this specific point you can see on screen. Once you make your way into the bunker, you want to input this specific code, which is 04222-021. Now, this code was given to us on the Nuke calendar, so that's how we knew about it. And like the other bunkers in the game, currently there's not anything crazy within these bunkers. You can get some orange crates, and there's all the nostalgic stuff from the bunkers of old, but there's not really anything special, and you cannot open the other sections of the bunker just yet. Maybe they'll be opened up in the future, maybe they'll add some better loot in these at a future point. Now we have a bunker 3 that can be found on this specific point on the TAC map on screen. So head over here, and once you get into the bunker, the specific code that you need to input is 301-98805. Similar to bunker 1, this code was given to us because it was on top of the supermarket's promotional poster. And again, once you go inside, you can get some orange crates, kill streaks, there's a Lenin statue on the desk, and a load of other stuff, but nothing too crazy. Finally, the third bunker that has a specific code that you need to input is bunker 10. This time, the game does not give anything away for what the code actually is, and this can be found right at the bottom of the map on this specific point on screen. So if you head over here, the code you need to input is 31547206, and this is the reversed version of the code that you had to input to enter bunker 10 in the original Verdansk. People were just testing this out, I guess. I don't think there's any clue in game to suggest to do that, but it's an obvious thing to try out. Once again, the same kind of loot can be found inside, nothing too crazy. These bunkers are smaller than, for example, bunker 11. Now I want to move on to the bunkers that you can open specifically with the red as well as the blue keycards you can get on the map. So unlike the other bunkers in the game that require specific codes or an Easter egg to unlock, these ones you can unlock basically by random luck. So as you are looting throughout the map, there is a random chance to get a red or a blue keycard from the crates on the map. This is entirely random, there is not better odds depending on different parts of the map, and of course you can also get them from killing an enemy who has one on their person. Anyways, if you are lucky enough to get a red keycard, this one can open 3 specific bunkers on the map, which are bunkers 4, bunkers 5, and bunker 6. And you can see the map on screen that shows the locations for them. Now if you get a blue keycard, this time it opens bunkers 2, 7, or 8. And you don't need to input anything to open. As soon as you have the keycard, you can just interact with the pad and it will begin opening up. You can just go in and get various different loot like kill streaks and the different crates. There is a Lenin statue in here. You can only open one bunker with the keycard. You cannot open multiple. And there's not anything special in the bunkers at this moment in time. You just get a bunch of loot. There isn't really too much craziness going on. And currently the deeper sections of all of the bunkers on the map are still locked. And of course you need to be wary when entering in case there's other enemies around. Now this is how you unlock the most enigmatic bunker, bunker 11, which has the best rewards in it as well, albeit they're still not that great, especially considering the time it takes to do this quest. So this Easter egg is actually exactly the same as the original Verdansk, and unfortunately there's not a proper reward for this, and the loot isn't that crazy as well. Anyways, in order to do this, if you've done the original, you'll be familiar. However, if you need a refresher or you're new to the franchise, on screen right now you can see a map created by Detonated, and at each of these points are going to be phones. So first of all, you only want to focus on the red markers on screen for the first phone that you need to find on the map. So when you spawn in your game, pick a location, one you think is probably going to have the least people going there as well to go to. And if you head over to this location and you can hear the phone ringing, it means that it is the correct spot, because basically not all of the phones are going to be ringing on the map, only some of them are. So if you go to the phone and it's not ringing, you can interact with it, but it's just pointless. So in that case, head to a different location that's closest to you for where the phone can be. And because it rings, this can help identify where it is, since you'll be able to hear it in the nearby vicinity. Now this ringing phone will ring in many of the positions on the map. There will only be a few positions that are not ringing, so it shouldn't be too difficult to find one that is ringing, and they all give you the same message. It doesn't matter which one you interact with. And also bear in mind, as you can see on the map on screen, there are some red and blue marked phones near each other, so make sure you are doing the correct one and you're on the right part of the map. Anyways, once you've located a ringing phone, you want to interact with it, and basically a Russian soldier is going to begin speaking to you, and they are going to read off 3 numbers in Russian, but obviously most of you probably watching this video don't speak Russian, and it is a must to have subtitles turned on for this, because it will tell you the subtitles on screen, so you won't have to be trying to listen to what they're actually saying. And on screen right now, you can see the numbers 1 to 10 in Russian, and basically you just want to note down the 3 numbers read out in Russian in the subtitles with what the English number actually is, or whatever language is best for you. I assume since you're watching an English speaking video, English is best for you. So you can either take a screenshot as each number is stated, and then you can write them down or try and remember it, or you can just write them down as they're being said, or just remember it if your memory is really great. Whatever the case may be, you need to remember the order. So in my particular game, the 3 numbers that I read out in Russian were 0, 5, 3. And this is where the other phones come into play, marked blue on the map. So jumping back to the map on screen right now, as you can see, they have various different numbers on. So basically, you need to activate the 3 different phones in the precise order that you heard from the ringing phone. So in my particular case, I first had to go to telephone 0, which is found to the right of the dam. So I headed over here and interacted with the phone, and you should just hear a buzzing noise. The second phone location is number 5, so I had to head over to the TV station. Now, like I said before, there are some points where there's a red and a blue marker here, so in this case I had to make sure that I was interacting with the correct phone. However, if you do so happen to interact with one of the red markers, it doesn't matter, it'll just read off the number sequence once again, which you might need anyways to help you remember. Anyways, after I've interacted with that, I then need to go over to the third and final telephone, this time located at the top of the quarry. So I made my way over here and interacted with the third and final phone. If you have done this correctly, the Russian person will begin speaking to you once again to let you know that you are done and Bunker 11 is now ready to be opened. If at any point you get interference instead or interrupted, it means that you've done the order incorrectly, but it shouldn't be too difficult to do, in which case you can start the ordering again. However, you would probably be so late into your game by that point, there's not really any point. After I did all of that, it's time to head to Bunker 11, which can be found right at the top of the map, northeast of the dam, literally right over here. And you do not need to input any number, just interact with the keypad, and if you've done the phones correctly, it will then open up. Now, unfortunately for me, the game literally came to a close as I managed to get in the bunker, but there's not really too crazy loot that you can get within the bunker. There are 2 legendary C9s, and you can also get the specialist perks, and there's a bunch of other loot that you can get. You can also see the nuke in the back if you remember from the original Verdansk, so I don't know if that means they're going to nuke it again at some point. I'm not exactly sure what's going on storyline wise, but yeah, it's a lot of effort to do this for not really much purpose, so honestly I wouldn't recommend this at all, and you can do it in any mode as well, it doesn't matter. It is a shame that there's no exclusive blueprints like in the original. Maybe they'll add something else in here in the future, but that's all for now. Finally, this is how you unlock the Subway Easter egg, where you can go ahead and get yourself the specialist bonus. Unfortunately, there is no Juggernaut in here, unlike in the original Verdansk, but there is the potential it might get added in the future, or they might add some other different rewards in this, because currently as it stands, the Easter egg is definitely way too arduous and tedious tedious for it to be worth doing. And it's exactly the same process as in the original Verdansk, so if you've played that before, you probably already know what to do, or if you need a refresher, this video is for you, or if you're a brand new player, once again, this video will be very helpful. I really hope they do add some better rewards for all of the Easter eggs on Verdansk 2025, because currently, I've done literally every single one, and I can tell you, not one is worth doing, which is a massive shame, because a lot of effort's gone into a lot of especially the unique Easter eggs. For what purpose? So for this Easter egg, you need to head to the downtown art gallery that you can see marked on the tac map on screen. Once you enter here, because obviously it's an art gallery, there are many different paintings hung on the corridors as well as in the main room. What I would recommend doing for this Easter egg, instead of trying to attempt it straight away, I would recommend trying to memorize the positions of where all of these paintings are located. Depending on how good your memory is, this might just take one game or many different games. I would recommend just sort of hanging out here and trying to do that, probably in Plunder or Battle Royale Casual, just to make it easier for you. Now, if you have a fantastic memory, by all means attempt the Easter egg straight away, but from my own personal experience, it took many different attempts to finally be able to master it. So the artworks of many different things, such as a palace, a house, a cliff, a river. There is also a blank one that just has a plaque underneath, a forest with a river running through it, an owl, and there's also a vase with some plants in. And there are duplicates of many of these paintings, so bear that in mind. You are going to be required to remember where they are, so depending on whichever sequence you get, which I'm about to explain, obviously go to whichever one is easiest and makes the most sense for those duplicate instances. The paintings are in the exact same location every single game, they are not randomized. However, there are different numbers that are going to randomize that I'll explain in a second, correlated with each of the paintings. So once you have a good idea of the positionings of the paintings and you feel confident, in this town hall building, you can go up to this button and interact with it, and the code you need to input is 2179. Now this is the exact same in every single game. After you've inputted the code correctly, it will begin a lockdown where gas will start slowly seeping into the building. And you have about 2 minutes to do this, otherwise you will just die to the gas, so be cautious of that. And if you are a random player and you happen to be in here while someone else is doing the Easter egg, there's a good chance you might die, so just be wary of that as well. This can be used to troll people. Once the lockdown's begun, you just need to come over to this computer behind where the button is, and if you interact with it, it will show you 4 different pictures which are smaller sections from each of the different paintings. And after it displays each of the paintings, it will either show an X, which means that the number stays the same, or a plus or a negative number, which is telling you how many numbers you want to add or subtract. On screen right now, you can see an image which correlates each of the smaller sections of the paintings to their larger counterparts, so that you can match up and memorize which one's which. Now, like remembering the paintings, it may take some time to get used to remembering which painting is which, and you can see they're all labeled with different names, but feel free to use any of your own naming conventions you want. Of course, the shorter, the easier. Now, on the image on screen, you can see for the boat, this one is correlated to the one that isn't up on the wall, so bear that in mind. So what I would recommend doing is writing down, if your memory isn't that great, each of the paintings it displays. So in my particular game, it displayed the horse with the number -1 next to it. It displayed the snowy cliff with the number -2, the house with the number -2, and then the meat or the plant vase with the number +2. So if you now head over to the paintings, there is going to be a random number underneath each of the paintings. And if you've gotten an X for your number, it remains unchanged, and you want to write that number down. If it's a plus or a negative number, you want to add or take that away. In my case, the horse was displaying number 6, and the computer said -1, so the first code sequence is number 5. The cliff was displaying the number 5, and the computer said -2, so my second sequence is number 3. The house was displaying number 9, and the computer said -2, so I get number 7 as my third code. The meat or the plant was displaying number 6, the computer said +2, so I get the number 8 as my fourth and final code. Now, the numbers are are in Roman numerals. Most people know Roman numerals, but you can see the Roman numerals on screen if you need to memorize these as well. I would recommend taking a screenshot of the paintings matching with their smaller sections on screen right now so that you can memorize them. So after you've worked out the correct 4-digit code sequence, you can go back to the computer and interact with it again, and it's going to display the sequence of paintings to you once again, after which it will then allow you to input the code. So in my game, like I said, I worked out the sequence is 5378, so I inputted that number code literally in the nick of time because the gas was about to kill me, and it went blue and said that the subway is now able to be opened. So as you can see, how I explained it was to interact with the computer first, note down the numbers correlated with the paintings, and then find the numbers on the paintings and work out the code. Now alternatively, you can do it the other way around, which is looking at all of the different paintings and then going over to the computer, but that doesn't make sense because then you're going to have to remember a lot more numbers. This is a much easier way to do it, and you can also interact with the computer as many times as you wish during this tight time frame if the paintings and their numbers associated went by too quickly on the computer screen. However, you are very short on time doing this, so probably if you've looked at it twice, you're going to run out of time, so bear that in mind. So you will die if you fail to input the code correctly, or you just take too long. The gas will kill you, and if you do so, you can then come back over to the hall gallery and you can do this once again. However, this time it's going to be a different sequence. So after you've inputted the code correctly on the computer, you can then head over to the airport subway entrance to the specific point on the tac map that you can see on screen. Once you come over here, you can then go up to this door and you can interact with the button to unlock the subway, and you can go down inside, and there's some chests and some loot that you can get from here, but the main thing is if you come over to the train itself or the carriage, you can go ahead and collect your specialist bonus. So yeah, there's a bunch of crates that you can explore to get loot, but unfortunately there's not crazy loot you get from this. Before, you would get a juggernaut guaranteed, I believe, in the original Verdansk, so this is a much worse version. So maybe they will update the loot in the future or give some sort of reward, because this is a lot of effort to memorize and do. For there to be no reward is absolutely insane. You really should be getting at least a blueprint for all of the Easter eggs on Verdansk 2025. If they do at any point change the rewards, I will be sure to add a pinned comment letting you know so you can determine if you think this is worth it or not. Now currently the only bunker that we don't know how to access just yet is Bunker 0, so I'm not sure if it is actually active in the game. You can hear crates behind it, and it does seem like you need a biometric scanner to be able to get in, but it's been a few days now since the update went live and no one's found how to get in it, so I'm not sure if there is a random code on the map somewhere that will show you how to get in, or there's something else that people haven't found. But to be honest, I'm leaning against the idea of it being live in the game right now. I think it's preparing it to go live. However, I feel like it won't go live fully until the Season 4 update on the 28th/29th of May. But whenever we find out how to get in, I'll be sure to do that as a separate video. But personally, I don't think it's live right now, but we will see. Moving on, I'm now going to jump into all of the Easter eggs that we could do as of the Season 3 Reloaded updates that I've already covered on the channel, but for those who haven't seen it yet, this is how you do all of those. The first Easter eggs we have are the 3 different shacks you can unlock around the map. As since its return, the codes have actually changed, so there are notes around the map, such as this one I found in the TV station, that tell you the exact codes you need to input. However, you don't need them, as luckily for you, the codes are going to be the exact same in every single game, and you don't need to collect the notes first. So this first shack can be found on the tac map that you can see on screen to the northwest of the stadium. So if you come over to this shack, you can unlock the keypad from either side of it, and the specific number sequence you need to input is 0185947 I will also have in the description and the pinned comment the codes written out for each one, so you can easily remember them. I would suggest screenshotting this if you ever want to remember it for the future, and once you enter, you can go ahead and grab your loot. And once you are inside, there is a map of Verdansk, and there's a bunch of different notes and storyline teasers from Spec Ops, I believe, for the most part, in the past, and there's different blueprints of different weapons that Zakhaev and stuff used and transported. The next track can be found to the left of the Gulag that you can see on the tac map on screen. And if you head over to this shack, once again, you can enter it from either side, but the code you need to input this time is 13584927. So once again, after you input that, it will unlock the door and you can go ahead and grab some loot. There is the model of the RCXD in production, and there's different books and notes once again, as well as I believe some things from Pawn Takes Pawn back in the day. So like the last one, there isn't really too much loot in here, but it's just a nice little thing. I get a self-revive, for example. The third and final shack can this time be located within the farmland in this barn that you can see on the tac map on screen. So this one's a bit different because it isn't just a little room, but if you head into this barn and go up to this corner below the staircase, you can then input a code here to enter. This time it's 36158294. Once again, it'll open up and you can go ahead and grab yourself some loot. Again, there's some notes and different things around here. There is also the telephone with the number 53125 on here. So obviously these were used to tease Pawn Takes Pawn to reveal Black Ops Cold War last time. So I'm wondering if these are going to be used to tease Black Ops 7 in a similar fashion and its reveal once again. In addition, I'm going to show you how to unlock the Storage Town locker Easter egg. So in order to do this, you first need to locate a key which is found out of bounds on the map. And where it can be specifically found is in the top right of the map on this specific point that you can see on the tac map on screen. So if you come over to this area just by this rock, you will see that there is a sleeping bag and you want to very quickly run up to it out of bounds and you can then collect a mysterious key from it. And there is an axe right by it as well, and also a crate. Then quickly head back onto the map before you die, and you then need to traverse all the way to the opposite side of the map because you want to head over to the storage town, to this specific building you can see on the tac map on screen. Once you head to this specific area of storage town, you can then unlock the door that is previously locked, and you need to be careful before going in here as there are going to be some traps laid out, so just be wary of that and watch the wires. As you can see, this first one explodes me, but I managed to successfully defuse the other one, so I just wouldn't run in stupidly like I did quickly. First try and defuse them. But if you manage to successfully defuse both of them, you can go in and go ahead and grab yourself some loot and some cash. There isn't really too much in here though, and there is a note then on this table that you can read which says, "I will not die a traitor." Now there is then a computer screen with some different writing on, and there are two different coins on this. I believe these coins are actually from the original Warzone intel we had back in the day in the original Verdansk that I did videos on years ago, so this is a callback to that. I'm not sure what the narrative arc is going on here though. Who exactly is the traitor? These were different ghost coins you had to collect, and the other one I believe is some sort of variation of the Task Force 141 coin. I don't know what's going on narratively here. It's very hard to track, especially because so much seems to have been retconned, especially with the nuke. Furthermore, I'm now going to show you how to do the Vault Easter egg. So in order to do this, you need to head to the downtown Tovorsk district to the bank, which you can see on the tac map on screen. Once you are here, you need to check the 3 different rooms upstairs, as within one of these rooms at random within your game, a biometric scanner will spawn in on the wall. Once you have managed to successfully locate it, just check all of the rooms. It's going to be in one of these. You can then interact with it to activate the biometric scanner. This will drop a hardware gift card which you can collect from the ground. Once you have this hardware gift card, you need to then head to any of the different buy stations on the map, but obviously it's recommended to head to the one that is closest to you, as you can see what I'm doing, marking it on the tac map on screen. So once you head to a buy station, if you come over here, you will see it'll say keys available, listing the hardware gift card as a special item, and you can then buy it and it will drop you a diamond bit drill which you can then collect. Now bear in mind, if you die at any point during this, it will drop the item, so just be wary of that and you will have to collect it again or kill the person whoever got you if you want to do this successfully. But once you have the drill, you want to head back to the bank where there is specifically a vault section where you can see on the tac map on screen. When I first tried to do this, I died going in here and I ended up luckily going back to the spot, and luckily the drill was still on the ground and the person didn't take it, so I picked it back up. But when you have the drill, you can then interact with the bank vault's door and it will begin drilling open the safe, and it will say heist completed when it finishes. Now this may take a little bit of time, and once you go in here you can get thousands and thousands of cash. As you can see, I get an absolute boatload, and this is so useful for plunder, but of course it's very useful on regular battle royale as well. This really is a game changer. I don't believe there's any really storyline references within this fort, but correct me if I'm wrong. Also, we have a little wine bottle Easter egg. This one is a very small Easter egg and is the easiest to do. So you want to head to the Gora village by the dam to the specific point that you can see on the tac map on screen. Once you are here, you need to head into this specific building and you will see that there is a wine bottle shelf with a few different wine bottles, one tipped over, and you can then interact with the wine bottle on the right, which says Dragon's Cove Vintage 1976 wine. I believe this is an Easter egg reference to Fortune's Keep. After you do so, it'll then drop you a bunch of cash, in this case 12,000. A very simple Easter egg, you don't need to do much, and there is a note to the left of it that you can interact with as well, and it reads, "This shelf will need to be filled with bottles, otherwise it will be too easy to discover the secret lever, and I want to keep my fortune." So yeah, just a very short Easter egg here. I hope this has been useful. We now have the Coin Arcade Easter egg, which seems to be a reference to Ashika Island. So the first thing you need to do is locate a coin. Now this has many different spawn locations, and I believe you just find it along the coast, predominantly found on the boats. The most common place that I have found it in is the boat where there is actually the note by the dead zombies. So I would just recommend sort of walking along the coast, checking all of the boats, checking all of this area, and you should be able to find it if someone hasn't taken it before you. And it's the Sea Treasures token, and once you finally find it, you can then collect it. Once you find it, you then need to head to Promenade East, and you need to head to this specific shop building that you can see on the tac map on screen. If you then head into this market, you will see in this corner to the left of the door, there is a machine you can interact with to put the coin in, and it will grant you a bunch of loot, weapons, ammo, armor, cash, equipment, etc. Just a cool little Easter egg. All of these Easter eggs seem to be referencing, you know, the past Easter eggs across all of the maps, not just Verdansk. Now I'm going to show you how to do the grave statue digging Easter egg. So in order to do this, you need to head to this building at the bottom of the quarry that you can see marked on the tac map on screen. Once you are here, you need to head to the top floor where there is a red door, obviously a reference to the red door teleporters that we used to have back in Verdansk 84, and you can find a Lost Lion Club shovel that you can interact with to collect at this point. Now, if it is not here, there are other spawn locations for it, which I believe are in old spawn locations for where the red doors used to be back in the day. A couple of the other spawns are by the stadium and in downtown. I believe there may be some other spots as well. If you know of any in specific, leave them in the comment section below, because I'm still trying to figure that out, and I haven't seen anyone post all of the locations. And there is also a note you can interact with by the red door, which says this door must remain closed due to unforeseen disappearances. We are sorry for the inconvenience. Administration office. And the door's obviously boarded up, as well as it has police tape on it, but that's just a reference to back in the day. It doesn't really have much relevance to this Easter egg, I don't think. I don't even know if they're related, to be honest. Anyways, once you have located the shovel, whether it's at this spot or another spawn location, you now need to head to the Verdansk graveyard that you can see marked on the tac map on screen. If you head over here and you come over to this statue, you will see that there are going to be some question marks with an interact button that'll show up. I don't know what this statue is supposed to be. It has a crown on, it looks very creepy, and it's holding some flowers, I think, or torches. Anyways, if you interact with it, it will then drop you a bunch of loot, such as legendary weapons, ammunition. Just a cool little Easter egg here. I believe this is a reference to the zombie grave Easter egg we had on Fortune's Keep back in the day. I hope this guide has helped.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Swiftly along, I'm going to show you how to do the floating doors Easter egg, which is a really fun one. Now, this is a reference to an old glitch that would happen on Vondel back in the day, as most of these new Easter eggs added onto the map are references to the history of Warzone, not just Verdansk, all of the maps. Anyways, in order to do this, you want to head over to the Gulag, and you want to be checking all of the different prison cells, because there is going to be a piece of paper with a puzzle on it that randomly spawns in one of them. It can spawn on the walls as well as the boxes. They're they're the only locations that I have seen thus far. Now, I do believe there are other spawn locations for it as well, because I have restarted my game many times, literally over 20 times, and it kept not being in any of the cells. Now, there are a lot of cells, so that's a lot of spawn locations since there's literally 3 floors of them. So it's possible there's other spawn locations within the Gulag or potentially even elsewhere on the map. It can spawn in the cells above the shower as well, where you duel when you die. So I do think there's probably more spawns in the Gulag entirely. So just look all over the prison complex. Since recording, I've also found it in the Gulag showers itself. So yeah, I do think it can pretty much spawn in any of the Gulag, or at the very least any of the underground section of the Gulag, and it isn't exclusive to the cells specifically. So if you happen to find any other spawn locations for it, please let me know in the comments below. It'll definitely help the community out. Anyways, I literally restarted my game many times, and I eventually found it spawn in this cell on the back wall here. I would recommend either just remembering it or taking a screenshot or a picture of the image once you find it, and on the image it will display a letter and a number which is pointing you to a specific coordinate on the map that you need to head towards. So in this case it's I8, so I know I need to head towards I8. From my experience, it does seem to be I8 every single game, but maybe I've just gotten lucky and gotten it back to back. So it does seem to always be close to you, and it also displays a collection of doors, 8 to be specific, and on 4 of the doors are going to be circles ranging from small to large, and you need to remember the order of small to large. In my case, I just took a screenshot because it's a lot easier than trying to memorize, but anyways, once you have the screenshot or have remembered it, you need to then interact to read it. After you do so, it will spawn these doors floating around on the map in the specific coordinate. So I'm heading over to I8 specifically, and it's going to be somewhere within this coordinate. So just look around the entire section in the sky until you manage to find it. I find it floating in the sky over here. So I come over to the boardwalk and I can look up, and I now need to shoot the doors in the specific order from small to large. So I first need to shoot the bottom left one, the third one on the top row, the top left one, the second one on the bottom row, and then the second one on the top row. Not all of them are circled, so you only need to shoot the ones that are actually circled. As you shoot each one correctly, you'll hear an indication noise knowing you've done it correctly. Unfortunately, you'll fail it if you do it wrong. But once you've managed to successfully shoot them in the correct order, they will all float away, and then a supply crate will then spawn in on the map somewhere close. So I'm just watching them float off in the distance. It's a very funny sight, and then I can head over to the supply crate to go ahead and collect it. So this can grant a bunch of loot, kill streaks, a ton of cash. I get 20,000 here, very useful for plunder. It also drops some weapons for you, ammunition, and a bunch of other stuff. I hope this Easter egg has been useful. It's very cool. We have 2 more notes referencing the history of Warzone here. The first is a reference to Roze that you can find if you head over to this specific building you can see on the tac map on screen within Lozov Pass. If you make your way to the right staircase of the building and traverse up, you will see that there is graffiti that says Roze was here, and this has been here since Verdansk 2025 was added. However, now there is a note to go alongside it. It specifically reads, "Does nobody check their corners? I've been hiding here for days. They open the door and don't even shoot. I wish I could ask one after I've killed them. I just don't understand it. I'm in the dark here." Now, obviously, this is a reference towards the fact that Roze was a very dark skin and you couldn't really see it in the shadows, so people would basically abuse this, and people were tired of people camping with this skin in the corners of the map, especially this staircase specifically because it's very dark, which meant they had to adjust it later so that it wasn't so overpowered. The next Easter egg can be found if you head over to the boneyard by this specific building that you can see on the tac map on screen. And if you head here, you will find there is a soldier that has been crushed by a supply box. And this has been here again since the launch of Verdansk 2025, but there's now a note that says, "By calling in this loadout drop, you accept that the manufacturer is not liable for any misuse of the product leading to injury or death from above. Please read this out loud to any individuals located underneath the product." Again, just another joke to people getting crushed by these supply boxes. Again, we shouldn't be taking any of these Easter eggs as being anything serious in terms of canon, they're all just gags. Now I want to talk about the Nuke Event and Zombies reference Easter eggs, and I'll also show you about the Bat Easter egg at the end. These aren't any step-by-step things, and they're just references. These seem to deconfirm the Nuke Event and the Zombies on Verdansk as being canon in a way. However, honestly, I don't really think we should be looking too deeply into this. All of the new Easter eggs that have been added to Verdansk 2025, all of them just seem to be developers joking about and making references to the history of Warzone, not just Verdansk specifically, but all of the other maps and Resurgence maps they've had over the years, and I think that's all they really are. They're kind of just messing with us, poking at us, but honestly, I don't think there is much of a storyline anymore for Verdansk or Warzone. I think it's all been thrown out of the window, basically ever since Vanguard came along. The storyline just becomes so messy and incoherent. I really do feel like 2019 to 2021 was a really good time for Call of Duty storytelling across campaign, zombies, Warzone / post-launch. It wasn't always the most consistent, but it was all building together, and this was a good start to the shared Call of Duty universe with Black Ops and Modern Warfare 2019's narratives colliding. Since then though, I feel like it's fallen into corporate genericacy where there's just no respect for the prior storytelling that came before it, and everything's sole purpose is to sell microtransactions, even if it comes at the expense of the narrative. We now have another Easter egg, which is a reference to Stitch. And in fact, if you head to the hospital in the specific area marked on the TAC map on screen, you can find Stitch's phone on a hospital bed, as well as there is a note seemingly about him. If you read it, it says, "To the owner of this phone, how old is this thing? I couldn't track you down since there are no saved numbers / data. Also, I don't want to touch it because it seems to be covered in blood. I hope whoever was injured got stitched up." Nice pun there. So I'm just leaving it in case you come back to find it, and I hope you do. I know how it feels to forget my phone at home. It's torture. Now obviously this phone is literally from the 80s, so I don't know why they even think it's in use or how they even found it. So Stitch is returning in Season 4 as an operator. Now previously when I did a video covering this Easter egg, we didn't know if he was actually still alive after the Season 6 outro cutscene for Black Ops Cold War when Adler supposedly shot him in the back as it faded to black. But it turns out no one dies in this goddamn storyline. He is canonically alive. It's unlike when we've had, for example, Soap return in the past where it was set before his death. No, he's returning and it's canon. As instead, Adler either just shot his leg or something to injure him, or he just shot the ground because he realized it was pointless killing Stitch because Perseus essentially won because you can't kill an ideology even if you kill their leader. That was essentially the whole point of that cutscene. And instead, Stitch has been held in a prison in Alaska, and Adler is going to be getting him out to essentially be working with him as Stitch will try and help crack a cipher to help clear their name against being implicated with the Pantheon. Which, to be honest, that story makes absolutely no sense, but I'm glad to see Stitch back because he's such a fun character. I just think it undermines his original storyline a lot. I have no idea how he's alive though, and I do not know why his phone would be in the hospital for literally 20 years. It just messes with this storyline, and it's not a good thing. Everything just feels like it's cheapening everything just for the sake of selling microtransactions, which is a massive shame. Anyways, if you come over to the top left area of the stadium, as you know, when Verdansk returned, there is a skid mark, which is the location of where the nuke actually hit within that event that transitioned us into Verdansk 84, where you can find the warhead here. And before, you know, there wasn't really much to take from this, and I thought it was just them paying homage to the history of Warzone. It's not really supposed to be a canon thing. Well, now they've added a little note to go alongside it, and if you read the note, it specifically says, "Don't forget to tighten the screws, otherwise the missile might not detonate, resulting in a catastrophic non-explosion that won't be the end of Verdansk, from Miss L, Supervisor." Once again, I don't think we're supposed to be taking this as being any sort of real storyline. I think, like I said, it's just them messing with us. They're just playing with the idea because we literally saw the cutscene, we literally saw it explode. This is them just joking around. I don't think it's supposed to say in the canon the screws actually were loose. Obviously, with Modern Warfare 3's campaign, we didn't really know if the Nuke event was canon or not anymore because they never even mentioned it, and we saw Verdansk was kind of being rebuilt in it, so it was a bit unclear if it still went off. I just think what's happened here is Warzone isn't really meant to be taken as canon anymore. Like I said, in 2019 to 2021, they were connecting it with the overall storyline, but it wasn't always done perfectly, and I think now it's become so convoluted and messy that they've just thrown it all out of the window and it doesn't really matter anymore. That's what I think has happened here. here. And I think Miss L, which some people are saying could be Laswell, again, I don't think this is supposed to be something we're taking seriously as being canon. It's just them joking to this history of Warzone, because Miss L, I believe, is just a pun for missile, or it could even just be saying to us, take the L. I think the developers are playing with us and they're basically telling us we shouldn't be taking this so seriously, which I think is a shame, because like I said, Warzone storytelling and the post-launch storytelling and the connected universe storytelling wasn't always perfect, but it was clear they were trying, and there were some mistakes along the way. I felt like when Alex first returned from the dead, that worked because it was a one-time thing where they brought him back, and it was even sort of hinted at within the campaign. But ever since then, they've brought back every single character known to man, especially since Graves. I feel like ever since they've brought Graves back, that's where the storyline really fell off a cliff, and now they're bringing back every character. Nothing really matters anymore. They can do anything they want. They have no respect, like I said, for the prior storytelling. I think a lot of the people involved in the initial storytelling have left the studio. Obviously, Taylor Kurosaki and co, who worked on Modern Warfare 2019, left. Obviously, he never wanted Modern Warfare to be connected with the other Call of Duty games and Black Ops games, but they decided to do that because it was better for Warzone being the shared Call of Duty hub, essentially, and having crossovers from all of the different games with operators, etc. But I think they didn't expect Warzone to be so popular when they were developing it. The Modern Warfare writers left, and I think it's all just fallen off a cliff, and probably the old writers for Warzone and the other modes as well, such as that Ravensoft working on the Black Ops Cold War campaign. I feel like a lot of those people have left as well, and that's why the storyline is really falling apart. I definitely do believe these are meant to just be gags and references to the history of Warzone, because if you come over to the left of the Gulag at the bottom by the shore, as you know, there are two different dead zombies, which are a reference to when the zombies took over when the Vodianoy ship crashed into the coast of Verdansk, slash a reference to the haunting of Verdansk. They even have two vials, stim shots that you can collect, and now they've also added a new note referencing this as well that you can interact with on the boat, and it says, "Madam, you may have received a letter just one day ago about your husband's death. Please disregard. I am delighted to inform you that he is, in fact, making a full recovery. He is awake, albeit disorientated, and already has quite an appetite. I believe he will be up and waking again in no time. The remaining text is covered in blood." Once again, I think this is just a joke. It's not something we're supposed to take as canon. This is just a reference to when the zombies overran the map and then it had to be nuked. Basically, they're saying her husband did turn into a zombie, which is why the note is covered in blood and he has an appetite, but they're just turning it into a gag, into a joke when communicating with his wife. I don't think this is supposed to be serious. It's not supposed to be canon. It's just messing with us. It's just a joke. And I think that's all these Easter eggs are. They're just jokes and references to the past. For example, we have the red door returning as well. That has a note referencing it. "This door must remain closed due to unforeseen disappearances. We are sorry for the inconvenience. Administration office." Again, this is just them joking about the doors teleporting us in the past. It's nothing that's supposed to be taken as canon. The canon is no longer. The canon has fallen apart. There isn't really a canon anymore, unfortunately. And it is a shame for us who have been hooked on the storytelling. And speaking of the nuke and zombies, with this update, we have gotten some non-Easter eggs because we've seen the removal of two prior Easter eggs. So this first one is, in the quarry, there used to be one of the Modern Warfare Zombies' vials on this bed. We didn't really know what this was for, but with the latest update, it's now disappeared and it's gone. So I don't know if this is building to something in the future, maybe this year's haunting event. And secondly, in one of the bunkers, there used to be a calendar with a picture of the Nuke event, with the date highlighted of when it actually happened in game. However, with the latest update, that's also been removed. Again, I'm not really sure why. I guess it wouldn't really make much sense saying the screws were loose whilst they have an image of the nuke actually going off on the map. There's not really any consistency here. I think basically what they figured is the storyline started becoming so messy that they're just not really going to have a proper storyline for Warzone anymore. When they think something can be fun, they might incorporate it into the storyline, but for the most part, they're just doing whatever they think is going to be best for the player base and having fun, instead of having to tie themselves down towards canon. Because, you know, having a canon means that they have less freedom to do as wild and crazy things, because they have to say, well, how does this make sense in terms of the world building? And I think this is them essentially saying it's all getting thrown out of the window for the sake of that, which I think has its pros and cons, but overall it's a shame to see that all of our theorizing over the years has ended up colliding into this mess of nonsense. I really think it would have been better than just ignoring the nuke event, never telling us if it was canon or not, and just leaving it up to our own interpretations to speculate about, instead of turning it into a gag, into a joke. In the Gulag, there is another Easter egg here where there is a note on this bench by this pad paddle that says, "As thanks for your protection in here, I thought you'd like this freshly cleaned vintage paddle from your home of Caldera. Just please don't ever ask me how I smuggled it in here," probably putting it in his ass, your cellmate. So once again, this is just a reference to the history of Warzone, and that's all these Easter eggs should be taken as. I don't think there really is any storytelling here. Nothing to me has indicated that. It just indicates that these things are all just jokes and references. Feel free to disagree though, maybe there is some sort of storytelling here, but to me, it doesn't seem so. It all just seems like it's being completely thrown out of the window. And it is a shame because I do think the Call of Duty universe could have been done correctly. I know I see many people in my comment section nowadays saying they wish Modern Warfare and Black Ops never connected, but I think that's only because you're seeing the aftermath of how it went wrong. When it was initially starting, when they had, for example, Imran Zakhaev in Black Ops Cold War's campaign, or when we saw crossovers in Warzone in the past with the Black Ops Cold War post-launch story, I felt like that was all done very, very well. Like I said, I think the shared Call of Duty universe only became messy with Vanguard. When they tried to do the Black Ops crossovers at the end of the campaign, that didn't work well and just felt really cringy. And then the campaign storyline completely fell off a cliff post-launch with everything going on with Butcher and Godzilla and all of these things. And I think it's become so messy now that, like I said, they're not trying to stick to anything. They're just going to say, fuck it, we're going to do whatever's fun. Screw you guys for caring so much about the story. That's what's happening here. At the end of the day, I think most people playing Call of Duty just play it because they have fun enjoying the gameplay and they don't care that much about the storyline. But back in the day, like I said, 2019 to 2021, I feel like people were interested in the Verdansk storyline and the Warzone storyline. The only reason they don't care anymore is because they've made us not care. They haven't shown any consistency in their storytelling. They're constantly contradicting themselves and bringing back dead characters, and that's why everyone's lost interest, because it feels like it's pointless even bothering to care because it's not going to lead to anything special. There's no actual Easter eggs or theories we can have because the developers don't even care enough to confirm or deny them, and they're just going to make a mockery of it like they've done with all of these recent references. There is no canon anymore. There really isn't, and it's a shame. But yeah, I'm really rambling in this video. I do apologize. So yeah, that's all of the Easter eggs found in the Season 3 Reloaded update for Verdansk 2025 thus far. But if you have found any more, please let me know in the comment section down below, or if you've found any more of the spawn locations for many of the Easter eggs that I have showcased, because there definitely are more. But this is everything that I've been able to collate thus far. I don't really cover Verdansk or Warzone stuff, but I always usually cover Easter eggs. This is my bread and butter, and a lot of these Easter eggs were a lot of fun, even if the rewards for most of them aren't that great, and a lot of them feel kind of arduous, especially because there are random spawn locations. I don't think there should be random spawn locations for all of these, because otherwise why would anyone ever go out of the way to actually do them? You just have better luck, and you're more likely to get loot a lot faster just playing the game normally than going through all of that process trying to find a random spawn. Obviously, if there is a specific spawn, then a bunch of people will congregate on that area, which they don't want, but don't put many spawns, just have a few. So that's been all of the Easter eggs in Verdansk 2025 thus far before Season 4 drops. Let me know your thoughts on all of these in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.